And guys, if you have any question, please write down a question and she's willing to answer any question you have. It's so important. She offered like probably 100,000 people for each one of you, right?
Okay. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to put the right QR code. I promise you it's going to be the right one right now. So I'm going to copy paste this. This is the right one. You're all looking at it, so you're my witness. And then we're going to put it here. That's what's happening. Okay. The Wi-Fi was acting up. Sorry, guys. Okay. Oh, there we go again. All right. Let's see. All right. Here we go. Yeah? Yes, we have another form. Sorry. We have to use this one. Okay. Yeah. Middle school. See, on the wrong one? You have the right one? Yes. Oh, you have the right one. Okay. So, sorry, go back. Okay, let's go to Archangel Michael. This one, cool. And then this one, we'll just put other for now. Okay, do you guys have the right one, hopefully? Yes? Awesome. Okay, I promised the last time we're going to change it. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about me until you do the form. Do I have everyone's attention? Yes. Okay. Can everyone hear me though? Because I speak a little low. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Alright, well my name is Sandy Gabriel. I'm the senior. So I'm giving you my other title from the other job. I'm the assistant director and counselor for CEF. I also work at Pepperdine as their senior advisor. And I went to Cal State Fullerton for my undergrad and I went to USC for my master's. And I've been working in higher ed since undergrad, so it's a lot of years now, more than 10 years plus at least now. And my favorite thing about working with students is when they actually get accepted to a university. That's probably my favorite part of it. As far as the journey and helping you find out your college list and all that, it's a process. I get to know you as a student. Please refrain from the side talks because it's going to be hard to speak over you. I don't want to speak over you. We have about 15 minutes or so together, so the slides are going to be very helpful. It's going to have a lot of important info. I know it's going to be all at once. That's why I made you register, so you have that virtual booklet handy after today. You'll get that email, and you'll get that booklet. But a show of hands, how many people in the room are high school? Okay, middle school? And then younger. Okay, cool. How about the seniors in the house? Seniors in high school? We got the seniors here? Only two? So you're my buddies for tonight. We need to make sure you're on track. What about the juniors? Okay, good. Do we have more sophomores then? More freshmen? Oh, it's really a mix. Wow, this is awesome. Okay. And then to get a sense of where everyone wants to go or what you know about college, what would be some of your dream schools that you want to attend, like colleges? Any of them. You can shout them out. UCLA, Stanford, UCI, which ones? I've been hearing a lot of them. USC. Tell me so I can tell you if I have a network there, if I have someone there. You never know. So where do you want to go? Do you even know what college is? Just kidding. Well, we'll talk more about the pathways. Maybe after today, you really understand, okay, maybe I know I want to go to this type of school. The whole purpose of today is to show you the idea of what options you have, what pathways do you have, what things to do, because right now the college requirements have changed a bit. Do we know why they've changed a bit? Well, yes, definitely. After COVID, sure, but what else is a big component that they took care of? Inflation? No. I mean, yeah, in applications. There's inflations in applications, yeah. So they got rid of the SAT and ACT. That's a requirement, right? So a lot of the emphasis now is on what? Other components in your application, and the biggest part is going to be your extracurricular activities. So a show of hands, just real quick, how many of you are involved on campus, like within school or outside of school? Could be anything. Great, awesome. Okay, So we'll talk more about that, and then towards the end, I'm going to talk about the financial aid aspect of it. Some of it can get a little overwhelming, so I want to break it down to you as well. I promise you, I won't have you for too long. Again, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you have questions, just raise your hand. Be like, Sandy, I'm confused. Can you explain that a little bit more? I do talk a little bit fast sometimes. So some of our services that we have, it's a lot of them that we offer, just depending on the population that we want to serve. So for middle school students, we have workshops like these. For high school students, we have these workshops, yes, in the fall. And we have our scholarships, and we have our one-on-one counseling, and we do personal statement writing or personal statement review. There's also the FAFSA application, we help with that. So it depends on the need and the population we help. We have our college students. We have something called an ambassador program, where once you're a college student at, let's say, UCLA, we ask you, do you want to be an ambassador with CEF? And you become part of our foundation. Do you know how long CEF has been running? How long do you think we've been established? How many years? You're close. 20. 21 now. Going on 21st. So we've definitely been helping a lot of students. Every year we give out about 20 different scholarships throughout the diocese. We try our best to represent all the churches as much as we can. It's getting very selective every year. We get hundreds and hundreds of applications, but we can only give out 20. So it definitely gets very selective. So please, if the seniors in the house, if you're going to be high-performing students, you have a lot of accomplishments, I need to see your application, and we work with you. I'm not on the committee, so I can help review your personal statement. Other than that, I cannot tell you anything else. All right, so here's our team. This is an old picture just because we did use our COO this past December, Sharif, on the left there. And he was pretty much our leader, so we are taking on his legacy, and we're going to do our best to continue the service. So I wanted to ask you all, before I start, why are you all here today, specifically this workshop, and why do you want to go to college? I just want to hear from you now, really. I'm going to start picking on people, so you don't want me to do that. You're forced by your parents. Yeah, I get that a lot. What else? Anything else? Why are you going to college? Nothing? What about to expand your network, or maybe have better skill set, or maybe have a better social system, or make more money? None of that? Okay. But I ask you this because I want to make sure that you know why you're here, and not just because someone told you. Because the purpose of college, if you're going to college because someone told you, you're not going to succeed, bottom line. Why? Because it's not intrinsic. It's not something that I'm motivated to do because I want to do it. So if you're here today thinking, oh, it's kind of like for me, whatever, I just want to go to college, well, let's think about it. Why do you want to go to college? Why are your parents telling you to go to college? And then reflect on the things that you want to start working on for yourself, like your own personal growth. Is this, I'm not too loud, sorry. Okay, can you guys hear me now? All right. So I was saying how you want to reflect on your skill set. So I want to take someone for example. Who would like to be my example for today? Just one person. I want to show you. Yes. Okay. So tell me, how involved are you right now, you would say? And just be honest, we're all here a family. And like activities, for example. Okay, would you say you have a leadership position in any of these roles? Okay, that's fine. So you're what grade? So you have time. So he said he's involved, yet there are some positions that he could become a leader. So when I say to go back home today and reflect, I reflect on what can I do to make this role or make this service that we're doing part of a better organization, a service that's going to impact other folks, and it's going to help me learn about myself. What is that number one rule that I could do? Because guess what? Once you figure that out and you do it, then you can write about it in your personal statements. So it's really helpful. It's a very nice little reward system. You start where you reflect and you understand my skill set. I understand what I want to do for my community, and then I can say, okay, I'm going to take this action. I want to become a leader in this, or I want to start this, or I want to initiate this. So I'm only emphasizing that for you to know the why behind why you're here today. So the pathways to college, as far as options that you have someone who wants to go from high school straight to college, right? A 4-year university of some sort, could be public or private. You have someone who goes from high school into the community college system for 2 years, and then once they're done there with their 60 units, they transfer over into another 4-year university, and then they're there for 2 years, and then finally they get their bachelor's degree. And then you have someone who takes the non-traditional route, which is the CHESP exam. After sophomore year, they're 16 years of age. They take the CHESP, they pass the exam, they're done with high school after sophomore year, and then they go straight into a community college. They don't have the option to apply for a 4-year. So that's now 3 different options, right? And then between the 4-year, at least when you're going straight into a 4-year, there's a lot of different types of 4 years. You have your publics and your privates. And within the privates, you have Ivy Leagues and the ones that are just private, right? Like USC is private, it's not an Ivy League, right? So questions on this specific slide, or the pathways or options that you would have as a student. We're going to talk about each school and what types of schools, but at least you know, here are my options. How many of you want to do the CHESP route? Should I just get a sense of no interest? Cool. Who wants to do community college? Oh, okay. What about going straight to a 4-year UC? And then straight to a 4-year Cal State? Okay. The community college, I see no one rose their hand. It's not a bad thing. I just need you to understand it could be always a backup plan. I've seen many students who got accepted to 4-year, but due to other factors, they still went to a community college that was local. So just keep that in mind. It's not a bad thing, and I'll tell you why. All right, so the timeline for the high school, I know there's some middle school students in the room, so I'm going to try to cater it to you as well. My biggest advice to any middle school student right now is to make sure you figure out the hobbies that you like, the things that interest you, because that's going to be the precious time that you can discover that without being so involved with the academics part. So if you can find those interests early on, you're going to save a lot of time figuring out what you love doing later on, right? So now, really kind of dive into your network, meaning what internships do I want to do? Who do I want to network with as far as getting a job? What organizations do I want to do? What sports do I want to look into? All kinds of things that I can dive into for high school purposes. And you can be involved in many of these, but please have a balance. You always want to make sure you have some type of time management balance. For the folks that are in high school, you see there's a kind of a pattern here. You're always staying connected to your academics. It's always going to be maintained. If anything, you're doing better. Meaning if I'm having a regular class, let's say in math, regular Algebra 1, as a freshman, you don't want to just keep taking the regular courses. If you're doing so well in algebra, for example, then take honors or take an AP class in the next year, until you've maxed at the highest level. Do a lot of you know your high school profile? Because that's going to also be important. Do many of you go to the same high school? How many of you go to the same high school? Wow, that's a lot of people. Okay. That's great. Okay, so with that being said, you all should go to your high school's profile today. You know, check if you just go to what's the name of your high school? What is it? So you're going to put that name into just Google and put high school profile. And then it's going to give you their website, but you're also going to see that profile I'm talking about. And it's going to have a list of their stats, and it's going to show you like their top 10% that went into the UCs, or how many people they've got accepted with this GPA, or how many people are taking honors and AP classes. It's going to show you what you should be at to get accepted the places that you want to go to. So that should give you kind of like a benchmark as where you should be at. Any questions on the timeline that we just spoke about? With every year, you should be focusing on what? Okay. So the CHESP route. We talked about it as an option. None of you really were interested in it, so I'm not going to expand on it. I'm not a big fan of it either, to be honest. But I want to at least give it its time. So for this specific route, you as a student, after you complete sophomore year, you're completely done with high school. You take this exam in English and math, and if you pass it, you've pretty much done with high school, and then you can get something like equivalent to a high school diploma called a GED. With that, you only have the option to attend a community college, and then you're there for 2 years, and then you transfer. Many of my students that do CHESP are the only students I've seen so far. There are 2 types. The ones that come from Dubai or from Egypt and lost a year here. So I had a student who, she immigrated from Dubai, and she lost her last year as a senior. They told her, you can't complete high school in the American education. We need you to repeat 12th grade again. And she's like, no, I was already done with high school type of thing in Dubai. So in her eyes, okay, you know what, I might not even make it to the UCs or the Cal States at this point. Let me take this CHESP and then go to a community college and save me this year. And then take these classes and then transfer. That's the ideal scenario for someone to take a CHESP. Another CHESP ideal scenario, which I'm not supportive of it, but I see it a lot. If those who want to pursue the medical route, they say, oh, well, I want to save 2 years because it's like 16 years of education, so let me save 2 years in high school. I don't really see the purpose behind that, just because those last 2 years are the most precious years in high school, where it makes you that leader. It makes you more mature and ready for college. Imagine being 16 years of age in college is a bit scary, I'll say that. Just because you're not used to that, unless you're taking AP classes already, you've been very self-motivated, you're mature enough to take college level courses at 16 years of age. If not, then you might not do well at the college. So I'm going to skip through that. Okay, so the college admission requirements, as I talked about previously, the SAT and ACT has been eliminated. We went to a conference this past fall, and the UCs have told us they will not look at it. They've suspended it pretty much from the application process, but if they do receive it, they said they will review it only for merit achievement scholarships, so based on merit. But it's not going to be evaluated for admission purposes. The Cal States are not looking at all. They said they're not even going to look at it, so please don't submit it. And the privates are going to look at it only specific schools. They might see it as for admission purposes or even for merit purposes. So if you have Ivy League on your college list or one of the privates of some sort, then maybe you should take the SAT, ACT, just to give it a shot. But I would not rely on it for admissions. Bless you. So that's the academic qualities. Is SAT, ACT taken care of? Your GPA and your transcripts is going to be the next important thing. I like to see a rise in your transcript grades as far as like from freshman year all the way to senior year. I want to see it going this way and not going this way and not going that way. The reason why is because the admission folks are going to be like, well, why are they staying stagnant? What's going on? Is there something else taking their time? Let me look at their extracurricular activities. They don't have much going on, then that's going to affect you. So you really want to make sure you always have a good balance, but your academics are the highest, because your GPA will be that determining factor that puts you in a specific pool of students. So for example, do you know how many applications the UCs get every year, just on average? Well, I have the stats. I'm coming to it right now, but just to give you an idea, it went from like 85,000 to 110,000 over COVID, like right during those years. So why I'm saying this is because imagine every application is being read twice. There's a lot of personal statements that go into it, but imagine how they review this process. They have to loop you in some type of pool with the GPAs, and then they review it that way. So think about it, how they break it down and how they admit too. That's also important. because they're not going to admit everyone, right? They're going to admit the top 20%. And then that top 20%, half of them will not probably accept their offer. They have other schools they're going to. And then they go and continue on the list. They might waitlist a lot of people and then say, okay, we waitlisted you, you were eligible for admission, but we want to see if the other ones that we accepted will accept our offer, type of thing. So it's kind of like a domino effect going through that list. But that GPA is going to be important to stand out, for sure. So those are the academic qualities, and then your personal qualities, we'll talk about them in a bit as far as your extracurricular activities. For the middle school students, at least in the room, do you all know what would be expected of you in high school? Yeah? Okay. These are some of the classes that you, as a high school student, would need to do just to graduate. Just the very basic subjects. Your English, your history, your math. They tell you certain years that you need to take this subject to graduate. But again, this is the very basic minimum. So if you do this, you're probably not going to get accepted. I'm being very frank with you. But if you go above and beyond this, then you will definitely probably be considered. When I look at the history, I don't want to see 2 years anymore. I don't want to see 3 years anymore. I want to see 4 years, and the 4th year being an AP or honors class. Same thing with English. 4 years, awesome, but I don't want to see regular classes. I definitely want to see some honors and AP classes as well. So that's why I have to push you to do this, because you're competing with other students who are doing that exact same thing and more. Even the language one, I even did it for 4 years in Spanish. So try to do that. Like, it's another language, why not? All right, your requirements, right? We talked about the academics, but I want to talk to you about, I'm going to skip this one, sorry. Extracurricular activities, okay. So, raise of hands, who's involved in sports? Oh, wow. What kind of sports? Soccer? Water polo? Basketball? Soccer, you said? Wrestling. Okay, yes. Awesome. What about arts? No arts? Any social media, creativity, any of that? Platforms? What about debate? In the legal aspect, like law, politics? Okay. What about music? Music. Oh, we have some musicians. Awesome. Okay, what kind of instruments do you play? Piano. Nice. Okay. What about like girl Boy Scouts, like activities outside of the school, like outside of the church too? Any of that? What about work? Does anybody have a job? Okay, you used to. Okay, so that's good. I ask these so you can start thinking about what you're doing to be more involved. We want to see more than just going to school, getting good grades, and going home and eating. We definitely want to see more than that. Especially after COVID, you saw a lot of people are getting more and more creative with their time. I've had students make TikToks of just academic and educational things. I've had a student create a whole entire movement. I've had a student create a club on campus. You know, it's just different types of initiations that can bring back money or a service to the community. Even I had a student who wanted to raise funds here with his church. I think they did a car wash of some sort, and that money went to Egypt. So you see how it goes all full circle. You can be doing something outside of the United States, and yet it's within your community. So think about things that you could do. My biggest example that I really like, I was at a church, and I spent a lot of time with this specific group because we were talking about personal statements. And this one girl came up to me, and she said, you know what, like there was a time where there was a lot of tension between the girls, where there was a lot of drama, and they didn't get along very well. And this is the church we're talking about, it wasn't school. She said, I had to do something about it. All my friends were suffering from that. So she said that she created like a FaceTime through her phone at 9 p.m. every day. They would do like a Bible study for like 10 minutes episode. And then it turned into like hours of it because they were just talking after that. They were just mingling, and they created a community where she said girl after girl, week after week, they would join randomly, and she had a lot of people, and now she has a social media page of women internationally that are supporting her vision because she was speaking on their voices and how they feel oppressed as women, and the women at the church themselves all had something in common, so they kind of created that unionship. So that was one girl who created a community of this big impact of some sort. Okay? So with the types of colleges, before I get into this, to conclude what I was trying to say, if you feel like there's an issue within your community, right, a problem you guys are facing together, the guys or girls, or just as a Sunday school family, figure out collectively how you can solve this, maybe by creating a committee of some sort, a group of 4 or 5 of you that can start, hey, you have this role, you have this role, let's get this position, let's go ahead and fight this battle, whatever it is. So if you need that, do it together, and maybe this is what you can write about in your personal statements. And no one's going to have that same story because you're the only ones who own that story. Does that make sense? The Coptic community, come on, who else is going to take that from you? And just advice, since all of you are going to the same high school, most of you all, if you're the same grade level, you might be competing with one another when you're applying. So it's important to show that you guys are a community going into all of this. So with the public and the private system, you have your Cal States, those are public. You have your UCs, the University of California, which is also public, and then you have your community colleges, which are also public. When I say public, just tuition is a bit different, your experience is a bit different. I'll tell you more about the differences in a bit. I went myself to Cal State, and I went to a private, so I'll tell you also about my experiences. And then you have your privates are like Stanford, Harvard, Yale, LMU. We have a lot in California and definitely out of state. Within California, for the Cal State system, we have 23 of them. Obviously, the closest one to you would be what? Fresno, right there. So you do have a Cal State that's pretty much your home base. That means your high school is pipelined to take you from that high school into Fresno State. So most of you should have a guaranteed admission into Fresno State if you apply. That's what I've been told, at least. As far as requirements to get into Cal State, these are the minimum requirements. There are no personal statements. You never have to write anything for the Cal States. All you really want to worry about are your grades, and that's it, really. AP and honors classes, of course. So if you do well academically, the Cal States are in your pocket. You don't have to worry about writing anything. As far as the UCs, though, you have a bit more to worry about. Oh, before I mention, the CSUs, this came from the conference this past year. The ones on the right are those who are going to take you no matter what, if you apply. The ones on the left that says campus impact on freshman level and major, those are going to be impacted only as a freshman and across all majors. The one that says impacted at freshman level only, those are just for first year students. So keep that in mind as you apply. Fresno is not on there. No, it is. It's the first one. So that just means across all of them, it's going to be impacted by the major and freshman level. So yours actually is one of the higher ones. Fresno is one of the competitive ones, as they say. I guess the closest one would be Bakersfield to you, and that might be more of a guarantee for admission. Okay. With the UCs, we have 9 of them, right? What would be the closest one? Davis? No, that's too far. Merced, right? Merced? Yeah. So Merced will be the closest one to you as far as UCs. Merced is not considered a competitive one, so definitely try to apply there if you want to go to a UC, close by at least. They have really good faculty. I do know one of the mentors there. And I'll tell you more about the differences between the UCs real quick, but when it comes to the requirements, they have definitely a bit of a different application process. if you look, they have something called PIQs. What are PIQs? Personal Insight Questionnaires for the application. So they're like personal statements where you write an essay for the application part. And it's about 4 of them that you pick. They give you 8 different questions, and they say pick 4, and you write 350 words each. So in the UC's application, they will ask you for an essay. That's really where they see you as a person, not just numbers. And then, of course, you still have to make sure you do well academically with your transcripts, making sure you have your grades. AP's honors are going to be heavily emphasized. The biggest thing that's going to also be the determining factor for them will be your extracurricular activities, because they removed the SAT and ACT. So now I believe they have up to 20 different slots in the application where you can put in your activities. So they expect someone to put up to those, not up to those, but at least if you have 20, go ahead and put them. That's been the push now, at least. When it comes to PIQs, honestly, this is the moment where you get to show them I'm more than just grades. I'm more than just 4.0, right? So what does that look like? I want to see you. I want to interview you. I want to see your personality, your leadership, your way of serving, your community service. Thank you. Your how you lead. That's going to be important to them. Through that part of the application, they will not be able to give you admission if they can't see you. So I always tell people to be very genuine through answering some of these questions. So you look, there's 8 of them. They don't change. I mean, they've been consistent so far. So if we take number 5, it says, describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you've taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? How many questions did you notice? How many questions did you notice in that question? 3. There was 3 questions. That's how they get you. They want to make sure that you read the prompt and you answer it in detail, all 3 of them. But you do have to make sure you finish it or write it in 350 words. So it gets a bit tricky if you're trying to write a lot. But we do help with that process with CF as far as helping you review the personal statement application. And then when it comes to writing it, I think my biggest advice to you, if I was a high school student again, if there was something that at the end of the day of the week or whatever that semester that was super like a learning moment for you, or you felt like there was some positive growth, go ahead and jot it down somewhere in a journal or somewhere, even audio record it if you need to. But at least you don't forget this memory, because you can talk about it in your personal statements. So please remember, if there's anything that you feel like is important to your growth in high school, journal it down, because you'll need it for the applications. So some of the stats, just to give you some idea of what they got last year, UCI alone got almost 120,000 applications. That's a lot. They only admitted about 25,000 of those. And then from the 25,000 they admitted, they only actually enrolled about 6,000 of them. The reason why it went to 6,000 because everyone they admitted didn't actually accept their offer, right? They went to other schools, but they've admitted them. And they waitlisted a lot more, 23,000. It's a very high number. So just keep that in mind as you're applying. You want to figure out how you'll be unique and how your story is going to be, it'll stand out, honestly, and be appealing to the admissions committee. This is some of the majors that UCI specifically told us that if you apply as a first year in any of these majors, they're pretty impacted. Just think about that. I see a lot of students who want to do this. Just keep in mind, if you are one of those students who are not really at the cusp of being a high-performing student and you are applying for an impacted major, I would really figure out, maybe find another alternate major just to make sure you have an option B, because it's getting a bit selective when it comes to these majors. UCLA alone had almost 150,000 applications, and they've only accepted less than 10%. it's very minimal now. They're almost very similar to Harvard when it comes to their admission rate. They're not even like USC. USC is 13%. So just think about these numbers. I don't want to scare you. This is not to scare you or overwhelm you. This is to give you the reality of it. Because when you're applying, you don't want to be naive to the process. You want to be like, okay, I know I'm competing with 100,000 plus people. How am I going to show them that I deserve to be at this school? That's it. So when I talked about the Cal States and the UCs, remember there's a big difference between the experiences as a student, as a UC student, and as a Cal State student. So I'll take my example, my journey, for example. So at Cal State, my journey was, I came from Egypt as a freshman in high school, and then I went straight to Cal State Fullerton, and then I went straight to USC after that. But it was a challenge for me going into the high school and not understanding anything about college. I didn't even think it was an option, really. Not until I was a senior, I was like, okay, looks like we're going to look at colleges now. And the counselor was like, well, you have, this option as a pipeline. You should go there and apply there, and that was Fullerton. So I applied to Fullerton, and then I applied to UCI. And when I went to UCI for the first time, it was for an SAT exam, I realized something was off. It wasn't for me, just because it was too big of a campus for me. And I just felt lost and unprepared. I'll just say that. But it gave me this impression that it was a bit scary to go to a school like UCI. So it was important for me to go physically to the school. And then when I went to Fullerton, completely different experience. It was more welcoming, a much smaller campus, a bit smaller, not too small. And I just felt welcomed as a student. And that was really important for me. Now, when it comes to the experience as a college student, it's also a bit different. If we're looking at just the differences on the board here, the logistical things, UCs do have a higher tuition rate. They have, their curriculum is focused heavily on research. They do love research because their faculty do research. And then you have even the size, like the class. This is a pretty small room compared to a UC class. They might have about 150 students in their class as just one class, versus a Cal State, and they might have between 35 to 40 people. So that just depends on the experience that you're trying to get out of a college setting, how close you want to be to that professor and getting that experience, and how much you're willing to pay. And we'll talk about money in a bit as well. I'm going to skip this just to save time. Okay, so with the privates, some of you said you want to go to the privates, so it's important to know some of their requirements as well. USC is one of them, so I'm going to show you USC as an example. But for you to go to a school like USC, they definitely still look at your GPA. They will still look at your extracurricular activities. You will have a personal statement to write, but it's only going to be one, and it's about 650 words. So it's one personal statement for 650 words. The rest is identical to the UC system, if anything more. So just keep that in mind for the privates. So let's say you're applying for one private, one UC, and one Cal State. How many personal statements am I going to be writing? Who said it? Who said it? Someone said it. If I'm applying for USC, if I'm applying for UCLA, and I'm applying to Cal State Fullerton, how many personal statements am I going to write? 12? Who said 12? No, not 12. So again, UCLA, how many personal statements for the application? 4. And then Cal State, there's no personal statements for Cal State. That's a tricky question. So no Cal States. And then we said USC, how many statements? So technically, USC has 1 statement, and UCLA has 4. So if I was only applying to those 3 schools, I'm actually only submitting 5 personal statements. Does that make sense? Okay. So for USC's profile, this is just their stats, but you see their acceptance rate is 13%, and their GPA is actually lower than the UCs. If you see, the average is 3.8. That just means that they've accepted students at that rate or lower because of how drastic that range was. They probably had someone who was at like a 3.7, but their SAT was really high, or their extracurricular activities was like the best, so they gave them admission. So that will skew the range a little bit, but it's still pretty good for USC to take 3.8, honestly. And we'll talk about the tuition in a bit, but I just want to show you their stats. And then for their personal statements, equivalent to the PIQ, you have the Common App, and there's about, how many of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 7 of them, and you pick only one. All right? Okay, I'm getting too much into this. I don't want to lose any of you. Community college. So we talked about the Cal States, we talked about the UCs, we talked about the privates, and then we have your community college. Any questions on the community college system? Okay, I'm going to skip through it then, because none of you are going to be doing it. But just know, for the college admissions, or the community college admissions part of it, they have something called TAG, and I do like it because it gives someone else another chance to get into those UCs. For example, if I got rejected from UCI as a freshman, and I still want to go, I could go to a community college, be part of this TAG program, and it will give me guaranteed admission into their program if I am part of TAG through community college. So it's another way to get in as a guarantee if you really want to go to any of these, and Merced is actually one of them. So it will be a nice little journey going into that program. So bottom line, when it comes to selecting your top 10 schools, is to go to the school. Really, physically go to the school. How many of you already have been to your college, like physically on campus? Okay, nice. Where have you been? UCI. Okay, nice. Any other schools you've attended? Just been with your sibling or your family? And UCI is pretty far, so good for you. So that's my biggest assignment, is to go with your parent to the college that you want to apply to, because that's going to confirm if I see myself as a student. If you feel like this is not for you, don't apply. There's no point of applying at that point, right? Because if you get accepted, you're not going to go. So please, that's your first assignment, is to find a way to get to these schools in a virtual setting or physically. I know they have virtual tours. Part of my email to you, if you registered, there's a sheet that we came up with that has all 9 virtual tours of the UCs. So you're able to do that virtually. And then the other thing to know as far as like what's fit for you, realistically, you want to look at your profile as a student. Like if I'm getting all A's, if I know I'm right at the cusp where I'm at a 3.5, maybe a 3.6, but I'm not at a 4.0, and I definitely am not above a 4.0. So what does that look like? You got to be realistic with yourself. Like if I know I'm not really there yet, and I still have time, then make a plan. And it's really easy. You can even meet with me or another counselor. We can figure out a plan to get you to that 4.0 or 4.2 and get you to the school that you want to attend. It's all about creating a plan, really. Okay? Alright, so I'm done with the admissions part as far as what pathways you have, what options you have. Now I want to go into the scholarships and financial aid. So are there any questions about the admissions process that you want clarification on, or you're like, I didn't get this part, or just your own personal questions? No? Okay. I'm almost done. Okay, so when it comes to the cost of every institution, is different. You know, you have your Cal States, your UCs, they're public, yes, but they're going to be a bit different as far as the price tag. How many of you know how much it would cost to go to UCLA, for example? What? How much would it cost to go to UCLA? 60,000 for the whole 4 years? Yeah, you're close, because it's about 15 per year, and so you're doing that for 4 years, so it's around that, 60. So if you're looking at this right here, this is per year, it's not per all 4. So the community college is your least expensive. It's about $1,100 to $1,400 per year, and then your Cal States are about $6,000 to $7,500. The UCs, like we said, around $15,000, and then your privates are going to be the highest. So it could go up to $72,000 or $75,000. That's the first row. Let me just go to here so I can show you. So the first row, that's really what you have to worry about. The rest of all these are going to be up to you and your budget. So if you, for example, are going to commute and you're not going to live on campus, then you don't have to worry about the room and board. That would just be free. Like, you wouldn't have to worry about that. But if you're going to commute, you'll have to make sure you worry about gas and all that. But really, the top row there is what you really want to worry about when it comes to tuition for admission purposes. And of course, you don't have to pay for this. There's ways to pay for it, and it's free. I went to Cal State Fullerton. I did not pay a penny. And USC gave me a scholarship, but I still paid for loans. But we'll talk more about what that looks like and how to get that. Do you all know what it means to be a need-based versus a merit-based scholarship? Has anyone told you about it? No? You're all just like blank right now. So when it comes to the need-based, it's anything that's based on income or your household size or whatnot, right? When it comes to merit-based, it's based on your accomplishments and your grades and any of the things that you've done in high school. They'll give you a scholarship based on those accomplishments. For FAFSA purposes, so what FAFSA does, FAFSA is F-A-F-S-A, and it's pretty much a umbrella from the government saying if you apply, if you submit a FAFSA application, he will give you money. But that money can be free, that money can be not free, you have to pay it back. So it all goes back to how much your parents make and how much your parents make and how many people are in the household size. So when it comes to FAFSA, as a senior, so the seniors that I have in the room, you'll be applying in October of this year. So 2023, all the seniors should be applying for FAFSA for the following year, and you would be eligible for any of these 4 types. If you apply for FAFSA, you should be getting either grants, scholarships, work study, or loans. Yeah, do you have a question? Oh, okay. So when it comes to any of these, just remember that grants will always be free. You don't have to pay that back. Same thing with scholarships, you don't have to pay that back. The only time you have to pay money back is if it's a loan. Because, if you take out a loan, you have to pay it back, right? So that's how it would work with school, is you take out, there's 2 types of loans. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but just know that would not be free money. You would have to pay it back if you take it out. In most cases, though, a lot of the students that we see and we help, if they're high-achieving students, they will probably get almost 90% of it paid. Because they're high-performing students, they look at their grades and whatnot, and if they're low income, then it's going to be almost paid. So if you're considered low income and you're a high-achieving student, then you should qualify for FAFSA. If not, I would look at scholarships, because that's going to be your next next platform to use to get aid. For those of you who are not citizens, you're not permanent residents, you don't have a green card, then you don't do FAFSA, you do something called the California Dream Act, which is a bit different. It's similar, but it's a bit different. And you apply through there as a non-permanent resident. Have I lost anyone? Y'all understand what I'm saying? Okay. Alright. Just to piggyback off the CEF one, we have one. It's a scholarship. It's a merit-based one, though. So we base it off of your GPA. We base it off of your personal statements, your leadership. We want to make sure you've made a positive impact in your community. We don't care about your income and how much your parents make. So for CEF purposes, our scholarship will be launched this April, and we'll have it due by May 31st. And when we make the announcements, we come to your church and we actually present the award to you. So please apply, and you'll see me if you guys get it this year. As far as the Merit Achievement Scholarship, we have another one. I haven't spoke about it yet, but that's the graduate school one. Yeah. Yes. So, good question. She asked, when can someone apply for our scholarship? So, there are 3 different types of students that can qualify. Those who are high school students going to a 4-year, those who are high school students going to a those high school students going to a 4-year, those transfer students from community college going to a 4-year, or someone who got their bachelor's degree and going to grad school. So we have 3 scholarships that we're offering. And we just added a 4th one this past year for those in Egypt. So does anybody know Shabra? Shabra. Okay. So we gave 10 scholarships to students in Shabra at a church. So we're trying our best to expand our scholarship efforts internationally. All right. So I'm done with the financial aid part. I know that was brief, but I just wanted to tell you what to expect as far as what money to take out and what money that you would have to worry about paying back. My biggest thing from any of these workshops, to be honest, is to give you an assignment. So we're done. I'm just giving you an assignment. If you go home today, promise me 2 things. That you're going to go to your college physically or virtually, as long as you've seen it, and make a list of everything that you've done so far starting freshman year in high school. Not middle school, high school. Because when you do the applications, they're not going to care about middle school, they want to see high school. So I made something similar. It's like an organizer. You can make this at home. It's an Excel sheet, and you can just put in the activity type, what the name of your organization, your role, the description. You're going to talk about the things that you're doing for that specific role, what grade levels you've been doing this. Maybe you've been doing it all 4 years, or maybe you just started. And then the time commitment. Am I doing this regularly every week, every year? What does that look like? That way you have it. It's like almost your resume going through high school. And then here's your identifying schools list as well, where you can go in and say, okay, these are my top 10 schools based on the tours that I went on Sandy, and I like to go to all of them, so I'm going to attend or apply to all of them. So you can put them on your list and have your little detailed information there. If you don't know where to start, as far as like, I don't know what school, I don't even know where to go to understand each of these schools, there's something called the college scorecard, where you can go and filter out your preferences, and it'll tell you, okay, these are the schools that we recommend for you. So this would be a nice way to start off with, okay, this is my college search, right? So it's called college scorecard. And then just as a reminder, CF is here to help you with your personal statements. So if you do have any personal statements that you're writing, send it to myself or Catherine, and we'll be able to review it for you. So this is what I was telling you about. Once you all register today, you'll be getting these 5 new publications. That first 2 of them that I just showed you, and then the virtual tour one, our scholarship list, and then our list of every single college in California, private and public. So you get to see also those. That's it. Any questions? I know I said a lot, and I'm sorry, but it's important for you guys to know. I do have my business cards if you need it as well, but my info is also on the slide. We made it to the hour mark, so any questions, I'm here. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second.
Can we call it much cheaper? I think it'd be right now.
So it looks like community college is like the much cheaper route to go. So for me, I went to community college for 3 years. I did all my prereqs, I didn't get my bachelor's, and then went straight to pharmacy school. is that something they can still do, or is this kind of like it's too competitive, it's looked down upon?
Yeah, that's a good question. So to answer that, she went to community college and then she went straight to a pharmacy school to get her a graduate degree. That depends solely on the graduate school. So if the graduate school requires you to have a bachelor's degree, then you definitely need to go get a bachelor's degree. If it doesn't say anything about the requirements to have a bachelor's degree, then you can get those degree requirements from the community college and apply. But as she was saying, nowadays it's going to be more selective because they probably have folks who already have their bachelor's and maybe even working at a pharmacy already. So you always have to think outside of the box, what others can potentially do, and always exceed those expectations as much as you can. But yes, definitely please get a bachelor's degree at this time of the day. Honestly, a bachelor's degree doesn't even get us a full-time job now. So yeah, it's getting annoying. Like I've had a student who, she had a bio degree from USC and she struggled to find a job. Just she got in a lab. She couldn't even get it anywhere else. She almost applied for a barista position at Starbucks. So that for me was an indicator that our bachelor's degrees need to be, you have to be strategic about what you do while you're in college. It's not just a diploma, it's also an experience. You know, you gotta have a job too. I would recommend starting looking for jobs too. That helps create that sense of urgency, the leadership, you know, that responsibility that you can handle something on your own. Good question though.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have one more.
Yeah.
So is it hard to get loans, like regardless what your parents' income is? Can they get loans? Because I've heard sometimes they won't get approved for loans.
Oh really? Through FAFSA?
Depending on what the parents' income is?
Yes. Well, it's definitely going to be based off your family income and household size. So when you apply to FAFSA, you're using your taxes from 2 years prior. So let's say this year you are making a lot of money, but the past 2 years you did not. They're only going to use that data. As far as to answer your question with loans, FAFSA will always offer loans, whether it's subsidized or unsubsidized. The subsidized is when the government is paying for the interest, so you don't have to pay for interest. And when it's unsubsidized, you do have to. But that interest starts the moment you take out the loan. Yeah. And then when you graduate, you get 6 months to kind of like not pay, and then you start paying per month. Yeah. But loans should be covered through FAFSA. Unless it was a bank loan, maybe they didn't get approved, but they should be getting it. Or maybe they were really, really high income, but even the high income got loans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah. You had a question, I think she wanted to get married.
Is any specific step I can do it before the college, like just the high school, or she can or he can study more something to get him more qualified for the college?
So you're saying like academic work to do in high school?
If she in high school,
Yeah.
is anything else she can study before she come to the college?
Yeah.
Get her more qualified.
So he's asking, what else can a student do to be more qualified academically besides the classes that they're taking? Okay, so that's the thing. Go back to your high school profile. If your high school is not offering a lot of AP classes or honors courses, that's not a bad thing. It's good that they're not offering it. It's fine, because the admissions are gonna see, okay, high school is not providing it. We're not gonna hold that against them, but we want to see what else they've done. So to answer your question, the best thing to do is to go to their local community college and take a class there. That's considered a college level class that they could transfer into their high school transcripts. But double check with your high school counselor if they could use that specific course to be transferred into the high school. For example, Psychology 101 is a community college course that they could take out of community college and transfer as an elective into their high school transcripts. So it just depends on the school though. I'm going to just show you something because I feel like this will be helpful for all of you. What was the high school that you said you go to? Can you just spell it out for me? CLOV. Okay. I just want to show you your high school profile since most of you go there already. So I just put this and I just put high school profile. the 2018-2019 just came up, but if you see, I'm gonna make it a bit bigger. Oh, it's too big. But I just want to show you what information could be potentially on there. So see how it shows you, these are the advanced placement courses that are offered at this school. That just means that the admissions people, when they see this, they're going to expect to see you've taken advantage of at least 4 or 5 of these AP classes, maybe more. But just remember that they want to see that you took advantage of what's being offered. Same thing with honors. And you guys also have a special programs. So at least be involved in one of these programs. At least. Like Avid there. Avid is a college prep program. It's going to help you like what I'm doing today, but they help you throughout your year. So why not have that? They also have this one. Closed Community College Advantage Program. Look into that. That may have something when it comes to your local community college. It says with patient care, so that could be a medical thing. But look into it and ask your counselor. If the parents are not sure, make an appointment with the counselor and let them know, like, I want my child to be more involved. What can they do? See here, it lists the GPA and your averages of your SAT. And then a list of how many people went to those schools. Look how many of your students went to the UCs and the Cal States. So it shows you kind of like a summary of the students that they accept, or not accept, but the graduates. So this is a high school profile. Every school should have one. There was another question? Oh yes, I want to show you something else. This is a UC guide. Oh. The UC A through G guide, sorry, this one. This is going to show you the approved courses at your school that would be accepted at the UC. So for doing your school again, see, course list, and you see it gives you within each academic subject. For example, if any of you are taking any of these AP classes right now, those little stars, that just means they're going to give you an extra point on your GPA. If you pass the AP exam, that's even better because that means you get college credit. So look at this. It's called the UC A through G list, and it tells you per school what the approved classes that would transfer over to the UCs. It's called UC, I'm just going to go to search real quick. A through G course list. And if you all have individual situations where you're like, Sandy, I need to talk to you one-on-one, let's make an appointment. We can talk about all this if you feel like you need that. Any other questions? Yeah.
Just in general, from most of the students, they always go to university and the university of honors, and they keep ignoring the freshman university. What's the benefits for the people of going to UC and line or LA versus stay here? I'm sure there is that.
Yeah.
Money-wise also.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about after you graduate.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for that question. I forgot to mention that usually I end with that statement. I've been in education for a long time, right? I've seen a lot of students and, even friends and family. I've seen it firsthand. It's not at the school. It's really not the school. Because if I have 2 students that went to Harvard, and one went to UCLA or Cal State, right? But one of them did so well academically, it doesn't matter what school, they did so well academically, they were working, they had internships, they did community service in college, I'm not saying high school, in college. That's what matters than the school's name. That's important to know, because then when you graduate, you have a resume. And that resume is not going to have a diploma. It's going to have a diploma showing that you finished it. But that's all that's going to say is the school's name and that you finished that diploma. The resume is going to have the rest of the things that you've actually done. And that's when it's going to make you applicable or eligible for either grad school or for a job, rather than just the name. So back to my original situation, if those two students, Harvard and UCLA kid, the UCLA kid went to work at a pharmacy, right? Did hours at a hospital, or did some type of pharmaceutical test and had a 4.0 GPA. That's one situation. And then you have your Harvard student who just solely focused on their schoolwork and they got a 4.0 still, but that's all they had to offer. Who's going to get the job? The UCLA kid, because he did so much with his degree, not just the diploma. So you can go to a Cal State, you can go to UC, but I promise you it's not the school's name, it's what you do with it. For me, I'll tell you now, if I had a sister, or I mean I do have a brother, but if I had now like I can start from scratch with my kids, I will let them know you have a community college, you have a Cal State, you have a UC, and you have a private. Go wherever you want to go. I will never tell them go to a Harvard just because it's of the name, because honestly, Harvard is all great and all, but the realistic of it snows almost all the time. You're far away from your family. You would have to worry about rent. That's all good. You can gain that independency, but just remember it comes with other things that might cause you to feel like almost like, what is it? There's that term for it. Homesick. You'll feel a little homesick. I had a student who went all the way to China to get her, it was like NYU's branch, and she was doing such a great job in debate, whatever she was doing. I don't remember her major. Oh, it was journalism. And her parents were very supportive. Like, they were the typical Egyptian, but they were so supportive of her moving. And herself was like, after 2 years, I don't want to be here anymore. She was by herself the whole time and felt homesick and came back. But she was at NYU, and now she's at some Cal State. So what I'm trying to show you, it's not the school's name, it's really what you do is what makes it. Thank you for asking that. And if you take me for example, when you look at my resume, the last thing you see is what? USC, right? They're not going to look at Cal State Fullerton anymore. They look at the last degree. So that also helps you too. If you know your bachelor's degree is not going to be your last degree, maybe you're going to get a medical degree or get a law degree, that's what matters. That's the school that's going to matter. It's not going to be your bachelor's degree. Unless you're doing engineering or you're doing, what's another major that you don't need to do like a bachelor's degree? I mean, or a master's degree. Oh, business. Like business and engineering, some of them don't need to get a master's. So that's what matters. Then you should go to a really good school. Yeah. Does that make sense? So it goes back to your major. How many of you are going to major in medical field? Yeah, I always get a lot of those. What about law school? No law school? Okay, we have law school. Ah, nice. Okay, what about like psychology? Okay, nice. Anything else I haven't mentioned that's unique? Engineering. I forgot about engineering. How about engineering? Yeah, okay. I would love for you also to consider something else. One more thing. You might have something that you truly love. It could become your major, but you might have a second interest that can become your minor or a double major. So think about that too. Like, I had students who have done bio as a major and psychology as a minor. So they can become a doctor still, but they still have the psychology background. Or I have someone who's doing law, so they do political science, and then they minor in communication. So they can be public speaking, they can be very comfortable with public speaking when it comes to being a lawyer or whatever that looks like in public. So think about what majors can complement each other that you can really show that you are an appealing student. That's all. Any other questions? I'm going to turn this off. No? I'm here once a year, so take advantage of it. I've been on several committees at USC, and I know a lot about scholarships there. So if you have questions about USC, Pepperdine, any of the schools really within California, I have some people there, so I can always connect you with them, and you can just speak to them freely. All right? I'm done here then. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you all.
Thank you. ثانك يو سو ماتش. هاي سكول كل اللي كانوا موجودين احنا ما لمناش دونيشن النهارده، فيا ريت لو حد معاه دونيشن في البوكس ورا بتاع الدونيشن. وبعد كده ما تنسوش برضو next week will be the serving class, so each group should arrange with their own leader. Okay, thank you. مجدي دقيقة واحدة عشان ابونا هيطلع، هنصلي مع بعض عشان نختم، محدش يمشي. دقيقة واحدة. كاريوس قول لابونا يجي. في واحد منهم في 5 ده اللي هيروح هناك، انت في 5 مش كده هتروح هناك، انت هتروح في 6. هو هيبقى معايا و6 هيروح مع مجدي. 6 معانا 6 هنا برضه 6 صح، يبقى انتوا الاثنين هنا.
Guys, first of all, I'm so sorry for interruptions. Sorry. Thank you so much, Sandy. Thank you so much, Sandy, for this great talk. Hopefully, you guys, استفدتوا. You guys, if you have any questions, can you sit like for another 20 minutes? If you guys have any questions or parents have questions. So, and also, she's willing to give us her contacts. So even after she leave, احنا ممكن نكونتاكت معاها ونعرف any حاجة. عاوزين بس نقول welcome for the new church member. اسمك ايه؟ يوسف. Give big hands for يوسف. وبيج hand for Andrew. وبيج hand for Bavli. Oh. Thank you so much, guys. You have any question for me? No. Thank you so much. You have questions for Sandy? No. Thank you so much. يلا بينا بقى. طب يلا نصلي. Amin alleluia zuxaret rike yuke agium nevmati kenin kai stosianastoni tenon shivolingo emogio ben shoi sisos smorgo Sotiamono onainan Kyrie eleison Kyrie flogisson mina flogosima rosima tonia così estos Christus bin noti. O King, if these crimes will be established for us, will be and forgive us our sins with a blessing and might and majesty forever. Amen. God, make us worthy to bring thanks to our Father who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. لأن محبة الله الآب ونعمة ابن الوحيد, now the love of God the Father, the grace of only begotten Son Jesus Christ, and give the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you. Go in the peace of the Lord be with you all.